Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Saint of War, Tensura x DxD, by Kischur. Chapter 12. The Supernatural World. A place that is filled with wonder and fantasy, with it being filled with everything that humanity itself thought to be fantasy, myth itself. Such things like magic, or knights that held both skill and power to take on armies existed. It was a place that no ordinary human could truly fully grasp and know its inner workings, and it is such a place that any ordinary human would want to enter such a wanderlust world. But of course, such a world isn't filled with sunshine and rainbows, it is filled with conflict, war and debauchery. It is a place that mass murdering of a village that held a population size of a few thousand is but commonplace. It is a world in where the weak doesn't have any right to speak or order anything, is but forced to accept the will of the strong, be it their own lust and enjoyment, or because of their own self-interest. It was the world of the strong, in where the strong reign supreme and their words are treated as like that of a divine gospel that is read out throughout human history. A place filled with endless conflict of any kind, to the point that if there was a single day that there is only a few hundreds died because of a conflict or battle, would be celebrated because of its low death rate, or death rate that is casually in the hundreds of thousands dead, treated as something of commonplace. It was simply put a world that any ordinary human couldn't and wouldn't want to live in. A world that treats and produced annual deaths in the millions as nothing but as casual news like that of the weather. It was world of the strongest and the weak dies, without any voice whatsoever. A world that Seal Tempest, the son of Gabriel Tempest, wants to change for the better and introduce the human world to the supernatural world, so that the two worlds could be able to coexist with harmony. It was a foolhardy wish, but a wish nonetheless, a wish that came from a being that didn't held any such things like that. It was the first desire of the being known as Seal Tempest, and it was something that Gabriel Tempest couldn't help but support with all of her heart. Since after all, unlike anyone else, he didn't really held any sort of desire for anything. He lived his life through the flow of things and let others do the things for him. He wouldn't try to move forward and go to a different direction without others' interference. It was something that she was initially worried about, but when she heard of his wish, and it being just his own thoughts and desires, Gabriel didn't held the heart to try to dissuade him and go to a different path, but instead, decided to support him as much as she can, by trying to create connections to Seal. Like for example making Alexander go to Seal, wanting to make a connection to the two of them. And even, trying to make other angels to follow Seal as well, with many of them, also very much wanting to support her own son as well, much to her own happiness, but she did worry that most of them are women though, but considering that they have favorable impressed of Seal, she didn't bother to say or do anything against them. But what she was bothered with was with the church. She herself already knew the amount of jealousy, hatred and anger that they have for Seal. It's because of that, she was incredibly happy that Alexander was able to create a small faction of Seal supporters by using his own popularity and influence, allowing him to acquire some of the newer exorcists and nuns, and even some of the older ones as well. Gabriel couldn't help but sigh, causing her subordinates to react to it and looked at her in concern in their eyes. Lady Gabriel? Is there something wrong? Gabriel, hearing the concerned voice directed towards her, she merely waved their concerns off her. I'm all right, just continue on your wrong, since after all, lunch is nearing, we don't want to miss it after all. Right. With that, they then continued their work, not wanting to miss it and be overworked, and Gabriel seeing this, only looked at them smiling, before looking back to her report as well. It has been 2 years since Seal has left for his journey across the world, with him now being 9 years old. She still remembered her time in actually finding him in the pile of garbage, and in truth, since then she has been trying to find his birth parents, with her fully exercising her authority over the church to find them, and acquire their story on why they abandoned such a child. But, however, no matter how much time and effort she did put into trying to find them, she couldn't truly did so. It was like they were gone from the world. Even when they tried to access the government files, they couldn't find a match to Seal himself. It was like he was just birthed the world, or by the universe itself to be in that position for her to see. The universe, she thought, remembering back to her time with her father, Yahweh, who revealed to her the many secrets of the universe and its many wonders, like different species that lives in other worlds, creating their own history and mark in the grand scheme of creation itself. Maybe Seal is a scheme of the universe itself. She couldn't help but muse about, but also make sense of all of this as well. To everyone that has met her and doesn't personally know her, they could easily say that she is naive and thoughtless of her actions itself, with her being more akin acting to her own emotions and such, which is something that she doesn't really mind, since after all, that is mostly true, with her being more of emotional, rather than logical in her actions. Thanks to this, it granted her an innocent impression to others, which she has worked on to other factions that she conduct business with and talked with, and even let others fall their guard on talking to her, thanks to her innocent impression. Out of the angels that existed in the entire history of their race, even does that have become fallen angels and devils themselves, Gabriel is one of the most cunning angels there is. It's that very reason why she was placed as the head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs by Michael, who is one of the few individuals that truly know of her cunning nature. And it's because of her cunning nature that she was able to easily notice the various things that was happening in the church itself, their own anger and jealousy to seal. It was something that she herself was angry about the church, but more than that, the various negative emotions that was being projected and directed towards him, was immense to the point that she decided to step in, and helped him a little bit. And how she did so, she simply decided to use the name of the top-ranking members of the church names and used their names to order Alexander a hit on her son, of course fully knowing of Alexander as a full believer of the faith and would accept him as a saint thanks to his immense pure holy energy. She was sure that he would convert to his side after that. But still thought, she couldn't help but sighed once more, maybe, when he returns, we should do something like a family picnic of sorts, she thought, since after all, they haven't done anything that would indicate their relationship as mother and son, especially with their wildly different physical appearance as well, wouldn't really help her matters that easily. Yeah. Maybe I should have talked with him. Try to enhance our bond as mother and son, she thought, quite happy at that thought and goal. Suddenly she then sensed it, no, more like everyone has sensed it in heaven, with it being different, but still familiar all the same. Gabriel immediately took off, not minding that she has destroyed a few walls in her escape of her workplace and immediately headed towards the entrance of heaven. Seal. I am coming. At the entrance of heaven, many angels was all clamoring in the entrance, with them all welcoming back the child of Gabriel. Hey, you change quite a lot, kid. Oh my, it seems that Lord Seal has become quite the lady killer. Lord Seal. Hey kid, want to practice with us? Lord Seal. I'm happy for your return. Seal, who has just returned home, was showered with such words from the angels that was close by and saw his entrance, which to himself, he couldn't help but sigh in annoyance, not wanting to be in this kind of spotlight. I need to go meet up with the Uncle Michael, I need to show him something, he couldn't help but thought, and was doing his best to try to move from his clammed spot, while not hurting anyone else as well, with his strength now being quite immense, compared 2 years ago. Since after all, he has long since overcame the barrier of the enlightened stage and has confidently entered the saint stages now, with his being a lot more special, with him training in both the Yggdrasil tree of the Norse pantheon and Mount Kailash of the Hindu pantheon. And with his training with the Hindu pantheon, as well as learning a lot more about battle will and even evolved it and then meshed it with his own method as well, making it be stronger than ever before as well. It was something that he is quite proud of, and wants to spread it as well, so that both angels and exorcist would be more ready for the battle that would come in the near future. Seal. But before he could go straight to the sixth heaven, he was stopped by the familiar voice of his own mother, with her rapidly flying towards the entrance to meet with her beloved son. Seal, seeing this, couldn't help but smile, quite happy seeing his own beloved mother safe and sound, while still being able to let out such a happy smile. With that, he decided to meet up with her halfway and fly towards her as well. Gabriel, seeing this, slowed down a bit, so that she wouldn't crash towards Seal, but also readying herself to hug him as well, wanting to secure him within her arms, and wanting to see how much he has grown as well, and upon getting him, and placing her head on top of her baby's beautiful blue hair, she couldn't help but let out a few tears. Welcome back. My Seal, she couldn't help but say in a low voice, not wanting to ruin their own current atmosphere that they have created for themselves, which Seal noticed, and didn't bother as well, with him just tightening his own hug. Yeah. Glad to be back. Mom. With that, the rest of the angels just watched from a distance, and just let them be and enjoyed their own display of love for one another. Hollow diamond, hollow diamond, hollow diamond, hollow diamond, hollow diamond. I see, quite the adventure. Gabriel couldn't help but say, while seating down in a fancy table for two, with both she and Seal, going about and drinking some tea, to create a perfect mood for one to have some family talked. But still though, I always knew you would be a lady killer with the constant reports that I get, and your own looks, which is still best in the entire world. But still. For you to create your own harem adventure squad? Really? She couldn't help but asked in a ridiculous way, still not getting it, despite it being a few months since the last marriage proposal that was sent to their faction. Seal, hearing that, couldn't help but sigh in annoyance. Please don't say that. Does women didn't join me because they're in love with me, they joined because they felt like they could acquire something when they decided to join me, he reasoned with her, causing her to look at him with a raised brow, and an amused look. Yeah. Keep telling yourself that. If it keeps you asleep at night, she teased, quite happy at their pace, like the world itself didn't matter to the two of them, but unfortunately though, Seal misunderstood her words. Seal, hearing that, couldn't help but blushed a little. Please mom, I wouldn't do that, he shouted in horror at what he thought she was saying. Gabriel, seeing her little baby's outburst, froze in silence, seeing her baby's blushing face and clearly embarrassed look, and with him looking away from her, she couldn't help but asked in a shaky voice. Seal. We where DxD did yo you learn som somet something lick like thth that? She couldn't help but asked, since after all, she has done many things to try to keep him innocent as much as possible. She has even destroyed every book related about sex in Heaven's library, so she was sure that it happened outside of Heaven itself, and Seal, hearing her words, and the aura that surrounded Gabriel, he didn't held any choice but to say it. It was Siegfried Kazlana of Asgard, he said to her, causing her to narrow her eyes at that name. Siegfried Kazlana. Very well. With pause in between her saying the man's name, she then nodded and then stood up from her chair. Seal, you can continue your business with your Uncle Michael. I know you want to talk to him about something, so tell him that I said hi and I would be going to Asgard. Without any warning at all, Gabriel then flew away, not even allowing Seal to say anything back to her, forcing him to look back on her fleeting figure. Might as well go now as well. With that, Seal then went towards the office of Michael, fully knowing that he is right there and then. After a couple of seconds of walking, Seal has now arrived right in front of Michael's door and then knock. Uncle. It's me, Seal. Quote. Seal, you can come in, Michael said with him being surprised, quite evident on his voice, which Seal only smiled at, before entering the room to see Michael, hard at work, while looking before him with his usual smile. Seal, it has been quite a while now, has it? He said, wanting to create small talk between them, which Seal responded to it. Yeah, it has been 2 years now, since I left Heaven and went into my journey, he said, while going and standing right before Michael's desk. Where's Gab? I thought that the two of you would be with each other for a day or two, so why are you here? To this, Seal only shrugged his shoulders, confused on why his own mother was going towards Asgard. She said that she is going towards Asgard for something. I don't know what it is, but it seems to be quite important, since she just abruptly left to go to Asgard, he explained to the angel before him, who only looked confused upon hearing his words. She just left for Asgard. He mumbled quietly, thinking of why she would just leave for Asgard, when suddenly an idea came to mind. Seal, did you mention a name before she left? He asked, to which Seal nodded. Yeah, I said Siegfried Kazlana's name. Why? Is there some secret rivalry going on between them? He asked. Despite already seeing such a thing being quite unlikely, he still asked, wanting to know if such a thing was also possible. Michael, who heard of his words, paused in thought for a moment. Siegfried Kazlana, the husband of the strongest Valkyrie of the Norse pantheon, and as father of both Bianca and Kiana Kazlana. But why would Gabriel go after the man? Right before he could finish his thoughts, he realized something, and then looked at Seal for a moment, before sighing. Right. Siegfried is known as a pervert that is said to have peeked on women in the baths and such. Of course he has gotten better with him being married and having children, but there is still a possibility of Siegfried teaching something that Gabriel didn't like. Like the birds and bees situation. Yeah, no. Siegfried very must have destroyed his innocence in such situation, he thought, before resting the case as just that, since after all, like the saying says, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. He wouldn't interfere in things that would be far too troublesome, especially if it is something that greatly upsetted his sister. With that, he then focused his attention to Seal. Then, Seal, what brings you here? I know that you have just arrived back. I even made it in order to not allow anyone to interfere with you, since I figured that Gabriel would be wanting to hog all of your attention after all, he said to his nephew, now confused on why he has come to actively seek him out now. Seal, hearing that, nodded, also feeling weird about why there was no angel that was trying to greet him, even though he saw some angels moved about and do their work in the sixth heaven. The reason why I came here is to discuss about something about our faction. Hearing this, Michael let go of his soft smile, and then immediately turned serious at what Seal has just said. Explain, he said, while fixing his desk and such to be clean, and to allow him to look towards Seal, since after all, he has proven himself to be quite smart, even impressing Odin of all people with his brilliance, so to him, acquiring some word or advice from such a man wouldn't hurt at all. To this, Seal sighed and then said, I know God of the Bible is dead. Michael, hearing that, didn't react at first, only looking at the boy before him with surprised expressions, trying to control his emotions, before asking him a question. How? He asked, wanting to know how Seal was able to acquire such information for himself, which Seal gladly answered as well, since after all, he needs the support of the leader of the angel faction if he wants to do what he must do. Experience. I have experienced divinity must be felt, and how it must feel, especially to a god that is a chief god rank individual, and with him being known as a holy entity, he must have a lot of pure and light energy within him. But when I entered heaven for the first time, and felt none of that purity that surpassed you, that just proved to me that God is dead, especially since he hasn't showed himself as well, he explained to the archangel. Michael, hearing that, didn't said anything at first, before sighing and then planting his elbows to the desk before him, and then clench his fist over his hair, wanting to vent some of his own frustrations. You are one talented child, Seal. I am afraid that you are far too talented sometimes even, he said, completely surprised by this turn of events. Seal, hearing that, only smiled. It's because of my own intelligence that I must help this world as much as possible. Michael smiled at his answer, happy that such a person was serving the same faction as he is as well. But still, what do you want to talk about, Seal? He asked, since after all, he knows that this is something related to his father, Yahweh, and considering his own knowledge and wisdom, he knows it would be quite the drastic thing as well. I think I could devise way to bring Lord Yahweh, or at least an aspect of him back at least. What? Michael, who heard Seal, couldn't help but yell in shock at what he just heard, since after all, such a thing, bringing back the dead, is seen to be incredibly hard to do, with the only way to do so is to have an incredibly powerful artifact to do so, and even then, it is only possible if the person has just dead a minute after their death, and such things like long-term death is all but impossible. The only ones that are except for that rule, is the gods of death and life themselves, with them being able to restore the dead whenever they want as their servants, but the only limitation is that, they need to be more powerful than the person that they are reviving. It's that ability why most death and life gods are so valued in one's own pantheon and is treated with the utmost respect, simply because the amount of power and security one would acquire would be immense simply having such a person's service. And originally also held such a person, Azrael, but right now she has defected and became a fallen angel because of her own bloodlust and has become a fallen angel and is now currently serving Azazel and Grigory, and is the enemy of heaven. Because of that, Michael never really held any hope that his own father could be revived, simply because of how powerful he truly was in his prime, with him having the capabilities to match those of the Trimutri themselves, with him massively weakening over time to the point that he became weak enough to be killed by Lucifer and his group when they were just in the Demon Lord stage of evolution, with them being respectively being Super Devil class and Satan class in terms of power. And so right now, he was gathering his thoughts before, showing his full power towards Seal, showing that he has broken the barrier between Archangel class and has reached Super Angel class in terms of power, with him now surpassing his brother's level of power as well. Seal, tell me the truth. Are you saying the truth here? Or are you just bringing us false hope? He asked in a serious tone, wanting to verify if this is truly possible, not wanting to bring false hope to the angels that was already sad because of their father's demise. Seal, hearing this, didn't back down and also unleashed his power, which was even greater than that of Michael, and has reached the level of power that would be far more acceptable to of a chief god class entity, signifying that he has surpassed the level of power that a normal super-class entity would normally wield. I don't know if it is truly possible, but what I asked of you is to bring me to the seventh heaven and allow me to inspect the sacred throne of God, the holy system and the sacred gear system as well. Allow me to inspect them, and I promised that I would be able to bring him back to life, he said with absolute confidence in his abilities, to the point that even Michael raised his brow at such confident display of might and understanding. And truth be told, it was truly a pride-damaging thing to witness as well, simply because the child before him claimed to know something about the systems that he knows of and has been working in after thousands of years, and no matter how kind and free-thinking he was, his pride was hurt. But having the possibilities of having the world's greatest genius worked on such a system and having the possibilities of being able to see his father once more, he decided to put aside his pride and allow his desires to run free from here. Very well, but as a precaution, you wouldn't be there alone, but would be with another archangel either monitoring you or helping you in this project. Do you understand, Seal? He said, while lowering his power to the point of normalcy, which Seal did the same as well. Understandable. If you have someone to look after me, I would like it either to be Mother or Raphael, since Mother is the most knowledgeable and skilled in the usage of holy energy and Raphael is by far the smartest out of all the angels of heaven. Seal proposed as well, wanting to work with the two archangels the most. Michael, hearing that, couldn't help but let out a nervous laugh, simply because of Raphael. Sure, he would immediately just accept Gabriel's condition of being there, since after all, to him the two need to have some family bonding, and with the two working together, there might be a bond formed there. But the one he was most reluctant of allowing was Raphael, simply because of her deep love for the boy. It was something that he was able to notice, and even actively warn her about as well, not wanting to make her be a fallen angel thanks to her constant imaginations and fantasies about the boy. Quote. Very well. But eventually, he just gave in to his own wants as well, since after all, upon seeing his determined face, and upon seeing the good that they could done while working alongside one another, he couldn't help but let his curiosity run its course and just accept it as just that. Quote. Seal, please make this work. To this, Seal only responded with his own calm smile. It will work. Just believed in me, Michael. Believe